Hey everyone, in today's video I figured we would just have a little bit of fun and go through 3 niche sites that I think you could potentially copy or maybe work towards to have some great, basically high page view niche sites if you really want to go after that. They're going to be very much so, I would say, focused on display ads as their main monetization form, and then we'll talk a little bit about kind of what I look at. I'm going to go through this in real time. This is going to be a longer video. Hopefully you watch, because I'm going to analyze some of these sites and do what I do with them to know that I could compete, and they're probably not going to be things that you look at using Ahrefs, primarily the tool Ahrefs. So if you watch this video all the way through, please do me a favor and just subscribe to the channel, because if nobody's listening to these videos, nobody's commenting, asking me questions, then I'm really probably not going to do them anymore, because I have no interest in really making money. But if I could help you, then that's really great. So please leave a comment, any question, ask a question, and I will answer it for you. I'm here as your free resource. Please utilize it. I answer all comments that are in the comments, and then I'm definitely getting some views on these videos, so I'm doing more, but there's not enough subscribers. So please do that, and that's my only favor for you for doing this today. So okay, so what I look for when I'm going to be breaking down some of these sites is number of articles, whether the articles have content gaps. We'll go into that in a second. The format of the article, which is really important, which will also, I've got a couple of great examples of these, and so we'll go through that too. And then the brand building on the site. So basically, how much does Google know that this is a brand? These are not the backlinks. These are if you were to actually Google the brand name, what would show up. So those are 4 things that I'm going to be looking at. So the first one is Quotement. 27 domain rating. Every website is getting slapped by the helpful content update. So at this point, I really wouldn't even worry about that. They're still getting 600,000 in terms of page views, which is more than enough money if you are monetizing through display ads. That's going to be in the multiple thousands of revenue, which is, I think, very real. So the first thing that I like to do is make sure that this is toggled on in Ahrefs, which is organic pages. I don't really look at anything else, to be perfectly frank. I just look at organic traffic and organic pages. The reason why I look at pages is because I want to understand how much work I might have to do to get some of that traffic. If you have, which will go into the site and what they actually talk about, if you have maybe an entertainment website that has a higher domain rating than 27, all of these articles are up for grabs, so I would snag them. So okay, so 1,000 articles means, they're going to be written by hand for sure. None of these are AI written, I can tell you that. So they definitely put a bit of money into this. If you're going to try to compete, 500 articles still might cost you $5,000. So have to watch out for that. If you want to know who I use for handwritten content, please leave a comment and say handwritten content or something like that. So I go into the top pages, and that's the first thing I look at. I want to look at whether or not they have great United States traffic. United States traffic is the only thing that really pays highly in terms of display advertising. So we want to make sure that that is actually toggled on. And then I do look at this little figure right here too, which says 84,000 in total traffic. So that actually means that this site generally has a much lower traction in the United States than it does elsewhere. So when we say 600,000 in terms of page views, this is good that you do this across your analysis of any other website that you might be looking at. In reality, it's more like 100,000 in terms of truly highly monetizable traffic. So I'd say they're probably still getting a couple $1,000s per month, but it's going to be only a couple of $1,000s. It's not going to be like $20, $30, $40,000. Okay, so the next thing that I look at is what articles are ranking for the United States traffic. And what I really want to look at is I actually kind of want to scroll to like page 7. And the reality is that anything that says that it has like traffic of like 81 or anything like this, it means that it probably doesn't get any real traffic. So this is kind of like a trick with Ahrefs when you're doing some analysis. It just probably doesn't get anything, and I know it says that it does, but it doesn't. So really the only articles that are getting true traffic are probably these first 50 here. So if I were to want to compete with them, I would probably be starting with these first 50 and then doing some really good article writing essentially. So if we jump into some of them, What we can see here is that it's basically just quotes from movies, inspirational quotes, things like that. Um, I do like to scroll through the content. That's one thing that I notice a lot of people don't do. They just go through Ahrefs and that's it, and they only look at Ahrefs. Generally, we want to look at how many images are on the page, also their formatting, so how many H2s and what those H2s are about. Yes, you could use an on-page tool to do this, but I actually think it's not as effective, funny enough. It sort of obfuscates the process and it could guide you in the wrong direction. And so oftentimes it'll lead to like over optimization. I just want to start to look at some of the formatting, like why is this one in bold? Why are some of the other quotes not in bold? I want to look through that and just kind of get like a general idea of what they're doing and why, how many things are italicized. I want to generally start to kind of copy some of that, right? So the bolding, the imagery, just generally creating a template, right? If I were to duplicate this, I'm not going to be looking at internal links. So again, topical authority, I really could care less here. It's really going to be a lot about what the formatting is here. So I'm also noticing if I do an inspect on this, that this is a paragraph. A lot of people might do a list item. So that's telling me do not do that, do paragraphs instead. The formatting is actually pretty important when you start to execute good SEO. You want to look at the formatting that is on the first page results, primarily for the ones that have low domain rating. Just the sheer number of paragraph tags on this article itself might be the reason why it's ranking well. So that's definitely like one thing to take a look at. Okay, so that's the content, that's the number of articles. I'd say this is still pretty good to compete with, but you're gonna have to put in a lot of work, of course, because the article's pretty long, but it only says 40 quotes, so sure, you could probably do 50 or something. You can see not a very like good website, but yeah, they're doing well in terms of SEO. Okay, so there's one. Then what else did I say? Yeah, the formatting of the articles, content gaps, number of articles. There's not gonna be any content gaps in here, so we're fine. We don't really need to look at that. We can generally see it by how identical it is to the top keyword to the URL here, but we'll cover that in some of the other ones. I think they're better to display in terms of examples. Okay, so the next one is betterresponses.com. You can see domain rating is basically nothing. They were doing really well in terms of traffic, 106,000 in terms of traffic. We can see the breakdown again of location. United States is still good in terms of the traction, so I would say this is great. If you have a grammar website for the next two websites I'm going to show you with a higher domain rating of 1, you could steal all this traffic if you want to, but I think when we start to look at some of these articles, what you'll notice is the formatting is pretty important. So same thing again. Oh yeah, let's look at the number of pages. So only 345 pages generally. So this would be pretty cheap to execute against as well. What I do like to do sometimes is go to their sitemap. So here's one thing that is really interesting is Ahrefs says 383 in terms of the articles, but if we just put in sitemap.xml, it'll pop open their sitemap, and what we could see is they actually have 403 articles. Yeah, so a lot of times if you put in somebody's sitemap, you'll get a better understanding of what's in the website, and you can just do /sitemap.xml of whatever website it is that you're analyzing, and you can get a better idea of kind of what's under the hood, right? And it does give you a lot more insights than you might think by just generally looking at the sitemap. Looking at what's most recently published as well can give you a general idea of where that person who's driving the SEO is trying to go, which can give you some more ideas too. So, okay, let's break down the top pages because this video is going to get long. Single cut, no editing. That's what we do on this channel. Okay, so responses to messages. This is basically all responses to messages, and I think it's pretty cool actually. So funny responses to how are you. As you go into it, there's it's actually pretty good writing. So I would say if you're going to copy this, it's going to be a little bit harder because there's some entertainment to it. I think you're still going to have to look at the formatting, how many images they have on the page. Once again, using a lot more paragraphs here than they are bulleted lists. So formatting super important. If I were to compete with this, you can go ahead and punch this in on your own. I would be trying to kind of modulate for the helpful content update and putting in kind of like a, I don't know, top like key takeaways at the top, and then I would also be trying to just get the answer quicker, earlier in the article, and then trying to get the user to scroll through the article a little bit more, and maybe reducing the ad volume for sure. They don't really have control over that. They're using, I think, what looks like Zoic. So yeah, but certainly something that you could compete against, and also easy to write for. These are just ideas, like entertainment articles, so very easy to write for. They are a little long, but you're fine. I mean, look, there's it's not like the copy and how well the article is written in terms of grammar is doing anything for it. So just read through it and you'll get a better idea of what I'm talking about here, where you could definitely compete with these. Same thing here. The first page is getting most of the traffic. I would say the articles further down aren't really. So still a starter website. I would say something that this person's probably still working on it, but a great one to copy. Okay, so last one is my favorite one. This one recently jumped in DR to 15. It has around 600 articles. You can see this is my favorite because it has the most United States traffic than the others, and I would say this is just a great site, and we're going to go into why. They definitely have done some link building. You could go ahead on your own and jump in there and see what the links are. I don't really think it matters all that much. They were getting, if you do this, you can see this. They were getting tons of traffic even before they had any backlinks. They just recently started building backlinks. You can see that on the 29th of September, the domain rating jumped to 13, meaning that that's when they started to do some backlink building, but they had already had 200,000 in terms of page views, so they didn't really need any backlinks. The reason why this is doing so well, though, is because they jumped to actually fixing some content gaps. So you can see, like, quick learner, synonym, it does match an identical keyword here. That's true, but in a lot of these keyword matches, like please advise, for example, it's really an article about other ways to say please advise. So if you were to just find that keyword please advise, generally what's on the first page is probably not what this article ended up being about. And so I think a lot of this site is trying to kind of serve up different helpful content update intent signals, I would say, right? So this is where somebody might be putting in please advise, and Google is learning that they actually want to find synonyms or other ways to say it, even though the keyword just says please advise. So this is an interesting area where, like, you really can't rely on keyword research too much. You still have to do some creative thinking around what it is that people are looking for. I'm happy to go into that in other videos too, and how to do that. In short, you basically just Google the keyword and kind of see what types of results are showing up. This is a great site because it's very simple, straightforward, and they put the answer towards the top of the page. I'd say that's really a strong signal for the helpful content update. And then as you scroll through the article, they give you a little bit more in-depth analysis of kind of ways to say it. So different examples like an email, and informal ways to say it. The articles are really short, which I also think is great. They bold some things that are really kind of like key takeaways, and it's pretty straightforward. These are probably 800 words in total, maybe less. So they're really just going for trying to answer the question as best as possible, and then really thinking creatively, having very unique content. So they're probably not relying on anything NLP related. If they are NLP or entities related as it pertains to SEO, it's probably going to be just a guide, but they're mostly going to rely on the fact that they have unique content. So that's what I've seen work the best these days, is targeting the intent, playing around with helpful content update signals like key takeaways, the answers earlier in the page, and then really making sure that everything that you say is 100% unique. And what I mean by that is things that are not on the front page of Google, right? Basically just trying to make yours as different as possible, which is pretty hard actually. So this is a great site. Another one that I would say is fantastic culprit for being able to copy. Although you're going to need some great writers to be able to write about these articles, and I think you're going to need to be creative, and you're really going to have to create a better resource than what they have, because while these are short, they're a really great resource. So they're not fantastic for the kind of skyscraper method. Okay, so those are 3 sites that I would kind of take a look at. I'm happy to give you more sites in the future if you like this. Once again, I'm asking for comments, subscribers, and just any sort of engagement on the video to tell me that you like this, you don't like this, and I will catch you next time. Thank you.